Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Samat coming to you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahawashi, where all praises, honor, and glory is due. I'm going to give double honors to the elders and apostles, from apostle to heart on down, and peace and blessings to you brothers doing this work, and shalom to the elect. All right, so going into this lesson, I want to talk about how we are representations of Yahawashi. We are the representatives, we are the spokespersons, and we are the face currently of Yahawashi. So with that being said, the very things that we do, the very actions we take, the very things we say, they're all being taken into account, and they're all being looked at. Everything we do is being watched, by the elites, by the people, by our own people. And although prophecies say that only 2/3 of our people are going to receive salvation in this truth, right? And it's like only 1/3 of our people are going to receive salvation in this truth. And so like I'm having issues with the video. Only 1/3 of our people are going to receive salvation here in this truth, and 2/3 are not, right? And that's here in America, right? And there's going to be a great multitude of Israelites that get killed and destroyed across the world, as well as a remnant that gets delivered. And we can't do anything against prophecy before prophecy, right? So with that being said, there's things that you cannot do, Jake. You can't forcefully usher in prophecy. It doesn't work like that. You can't sit here and do certain things with the intention of making prophecies come to fruition. For example, you can't force the famine of the word. You can't intentionally go on live and upload videos talking about specific topics, saying specific words, speaking in a specific way with the intent of getting your videos flagged and taken down and your channels taken down, and then when that happens, you're going to say, oh, famine of the word, Esau, being the devil, which Esau is being the devil, and the famine of the word is coming. But by you making the intent and saying specific things and not using wisdom, not being prudent and circumspect, like I talked about in my previous video, you're now forcefully, bringing in a false famine, if you will. Now, granted, we live in a society where it doesn't have to do any, even if you ain't in this truth, even if you ain't in this truth, there's certain things that cannot be said about certain topics. There's certain words that cannot be used without censorship, if you will. All right, that was just one example. And there's many other things. You can't force the persecution. You can't force, Jacob's trouble. You can't force a lot of things. By you taking certain actions, you're moving in a way which is not, it's not being a light. Yahawashi said we are the light of the world, man. We are set up to be an example, right, or an example to not only 2/3 of our people, or just the nation in Israel in general, but to the heathen, because soon we're going to rule over the heathen, right? So if you want to be the king, you have to put on as the king. If you want to be the elect, you have to put on as the elect. And the elect have certain traits and attributes that brothers need to strive to emulate, not just in private when you're amongst brothers, but out in public. Not just when you're on the line, but even in your everyday life. People should be able to see you in your workplace and say, wow, this man, even if they hate you for the things that you don't do, because they'll hate you for the things you don't do, not necessarily the things that you do, but because you abstain from certain activities or foods. You don't want to participate in the workplace's Christmas potluck or Pollyanna, I believe it's called. you know, because you don't celebrate Christmas, right? So you intentionally, you know, you know, I don't really celebrate Christmas. You know what I believe in. I don't celebrate Christmas, and so I'm not going to partake in this Pollyanna. They'll hate you for that, man. But at the same time, they'll respect you because what? You're standing on your principles and morals, and they'll see like, wow, this man is serious about what he is. This is what he talks about. You know, your family will look at you like that. You know, if you're an example of what a righteous man should be, a king, right? You're a noble being. You have to move and you have to speak with nobility. You have to think with nobility. You have to move with nobility. Because we are the representation of Yahawashi. So always think in the perspective of if Yahawashi were to come down and he were to walk amongst men today, how would he be viewed? You know, how would he move? How would he respond to certain words and certain statements? How would he communicate with not only the elect, the righteous, those that are put on, right, that serve the Lord in this life, but how would he communicate, interact with those that don't serve the Lord in this life? How would he interact with the heathen? You know, would Yahawashi be a different person when dealing with the heathen versus when dealing with the righteous versus dealing with the 2/3 of our people? Now, I believe Yahawashi will be the same. Now, granted, of course, he may have a different approach and he may communicate slightly differently when dealing with the righteous versus when dealing with the wicked, because the righteous, you know, are more privy to certain things, so he can communicate more straightforward. But with the wicked, you know, he's speaking in parables. But at the same time, his personality, his perception, and his walk and his countenance is the same. So we ought to strive after that same manner, you know, being whole in every aspect of life. You know, like, I don't understand what the problem is, right? Because if we ought to be kings, right? We're princes of the power. We're future rulers. We're future kings and princes and different things of that sort. Same thing with our women, right? We want our women to appear and to move and act a certain way, but as men, we feel like as long as we keep in the law, statutes, and commandments, we can just act any old way. We can appear to be any old way. Just because we don't eat pork and we keep the Sabbath and we don't celebrate holidays, you know, brothers feel like they don't have to take care of themselves. Brothers don't have to keep up with their hygiene. Brothers don't have to keep up with their appearance, you know? Like just a simple groom, you know? A simple groom and a simple shower. Brushing your teeth, you know? Not being loud and obnoxious when out in public. You know, actually, when talking to people, actually speaking to people with respect. And, you know, we don't got the heathen in subjection yet. So, you know, they not your slaves just yet. So you got to learn how to move, you know. When they become your slaves, then, hey, by all means, what you do is what you do. But that's not the point yet, man. Now, mentally, you know, you could think like, man, these fucking uncircumcised heathen. But, you know, you for the most part, you know, if they being cool, you be cool with them, man. Brothers is, you know, treating, yo, man, I done seen some things, man, with these guys, man. They just a bad look, man. Just a bad look on the nation. You know, when one brother fucks up and they get put on blast, they make everyone else look bad. You know how many times I've had communication with family members because of how men act out on the highways and the hedges. You know, there's a couple guys that used to be in this truth that are no longer in this truth. That it's just disgusting the way they speak, man. They take that whole rude in speech thing to a whole nother level, man. And it's like, y'all think that Paul, right? Damn it, y'all think that Paul was out here just, man, I done seen some shit, man. Y'all think Paul was out here just talking crazy, man? Y'all think Paul was just out here obnoxious and talking shit and talking about pussy and this and all this crazy nonsense, man. Y'all think Paul was out here just uncivilized, uneducated, unintellectual? You'll think he was just out here speaking in any old way. No. Rude in speech. And I actually, I've never gone into that word, but Lord willing, after this video, I'm actually going to dive into that word, rude speech, in the blue letter, and get a better understanding of what Paul was talking about. But just through my own perception and understanding of the men in the scriptures, that they were all very well-mannered, demeanored, organized men. Even if you might not be speaking with the most proper verbiage and use big words, your speech had organization behind it. Paul wasn't just out here off rowdy mouthed. That brother was rude in speech because he was right at you. He'll be right at you. He won't hold no punches, but his speech will be organized, man. He may come off rude because coming off rude doesn't mean coming off disrespectful. All right, you can be rude by being direct. A lot of people take direct speech and straightforwardness and very bluntness as rude, and sometimes it can be rude, and it is rude, but at the end of the day, it's real, right? So the point being is, us being the servants of Yahawashi, we ought to strive to emulate as Yahawashi would have been. Just a symbol of excellence, man. I don't understand why brothers feel like they gotta wait until the kingdom to strive for excellence, man. The brothers don't have any desire on maxing out your stats, man. Prior to this truth, I've always had a level of respect for myself, and prior to this truth, it was a little bit more vain, if you will. But after receiving his knowledge and his wisdom, it's become a little bit more regal, all right, a little bit more noble. So now, when I'm thinking of maxing out my stats, the stats that I'm thinking about maxing are all, just through the spirit and power of Yahawashi. I'm trying to max out my intelligence. I'm trying to max out my mentality, my thought process, the way I speak, the way I think. I'm trying to master my emotions. I'm trying to become, excellent in physical strength, and because all those things, they all work hand in hand. You can't claim to be like a fat king, man. Like a fat king is just, it doesn't make sense to me, because a king is supposed to be a symbol of excellence, man. You should be the best version of yourself, because that's what we're going to be in the kingdom, right? We're going to be perfect. But right now, brothers should focus on maxing out your stats, man. Max out your righteousness, max out your intelligence, max out your wisdom. And when you max out those things, you start to look at your temple a little differently. You start thinking like, you know what? I can't keep destroying my body. I got to stop drinking these sodas, man. I got to start drinking more water. I got to start eating more fruits. I got to start eating cleaner proteins, and you know what I mean, and exercising. And I need to start, I need to get a grooming routine, man. Just take care of my temple that the Most High gave unto me. All right, and that's just one example of many different things of how we ought to strive to be, representation of Yahawashi and Yahawashi, man. So, Lord willing, brothers and sisters, will edify. Till next time, shalom.